Alrighty guys, we got the 140 rebuild. Got the piston, all that stuff off. New pistons, got rings on it. I'll show you guys that in a moment. Putting the new base gasket on and make sure your gasket surface on the engine is clean. Take some Scotch-Brite, a razor blade, just something not to scratch it up too bad, but get all the old gasket material if you have any. Timing chain's through there. Rod is through the gasket. There's a rubber O-ring kind of right behind there that you might have to reuse. It might be stuck to your cylinder. There's a little indentation in the case. Make sure that goes on underneath the base gasket. So you got that on there, and then your base gasket, and then we'll put the piston on, and then the cylinder. We got dowel pins here, here, and nothing over there. There's an oil hole right there. I might trim the gasket just a little bit to get that oil hole completely open. I don't want it to starve for oil at all, so I'm gonna do that next, and then we'll get the piston on. I'll show you guys that. We'll get some oil on all the parts, and we'll slip the cylinder on. Alright guys, we got the new piston with the rings installed. You got the oil control rings, so you're gonna be your thin rings. Doesn't matter which one goes where. You have that wavy washer in between. Make sure that there's no overlapping on that wavy washer. Make sure it sits button up to each other on each end. It'll sit in there and kind of float around. You'll know if it isn't sitting in there right because everything will kind of get bound up. Always make sure when we get the piston on and we want to put the cylinder on, the rings, we want them staggered so the openings are kind of far away from each other. And we don't want the, I kind of keep the openings away from the wrist pin areas too. With the other compression rings, the dark colored ring is going to be on the middle groove. It says 2R on top. The numbers are going to face up, and the silver ring is going to be the top ring, and it has 1R stamped on it. So there's a letter on it right there. You guys probably can't see, but anyways, you guys kind of get the idea. As long as you match up the color of the rings, like I said, the darker colored ring is the middle groove. Silver colored ring is going to be top groove. Letters and numbers are going to face up, oil rings on the bottom. I put one clip in on the far side, the right side, and I'm going to put the wrist pin in through this side. I oiled up the wrist pin nice. So all we got to do now is just kind of slide the piston up in here. I got some oil on the rod. I checked the rod for play up and down, so I think the crank is okay. I just got to get everything in there, so there it is. We're just using some synthetic 10W40 engine oil. It's kind of nice if you use whatever oil you're going to put inside the engine after the rebuild. But make sure you got the base gasket on and that little rubber O-ring. I did cut out the gasket a little bit more here so that oil hole is completely open. There should be no chance of blockage. Our timing chain is hanging off the side. Last thing we got to do is put the circlip inside the engine. No, okay. I'm kidding. Make sure you put like a rag of some sort. Just kind of tuck it here, just so if it bounces, it's most likely, I'd rather lose it on the ground than lose it in the engine. And putting this in, I like to do is take the closed part, get that sucker over there, and then I gotta have a pick opening. Take the other end here, just pry it in. Put my finger on it, like that, and then rotate it a little bit past the groove. Get all the dirt off of here. I'm trying to move it just a little bit more. There we go. Now we're in. See if that'll focus. But yep. Ring. Make sure you'll hear it snap in. You want to make sure you check it all the way around. The pin will float a little bit in there. Everything's good. No binding. I forgot to mention, guys, you can only put the piston on one way. It says intake. The indentation is going to be bigger for your intake valve. That's going to be up because your carburetor is on top of your engine. So the piston's in there correctly. Make sure you guys pay attention to that. I didn't mention that when we slid it on, but if you look at the piston, if it doesn't have any numbers or any signs of markings, you can see the indent's bigger. Your intake valve's always going to be bigger, so that's going to be on top on a pit bike. Other side circlip is in. We'll double check to make sure everything was oiled up. All we got to do now is put a little bit of oil on the piston, a little bit of oil on the cylinder wall, and then we'll have to slide that on, along with getting the cam chain roller inside there and hooking the bolt up. We've done this once before, but it's been a while since we did it. So it's a little bit challenging on these.
So you have to have one guy get ready with the bolt to once you drop the circular guide in there.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a little bit of a challenge, guys. So I'll put the camera on me and we'll kind of get a good shot of me and Sully working on it and see if we can get it together. We have to wait. We're gonna do valve guide seals on the head. That'll be a part 2. We'll put the cylinder on and get everything kind of, we'll start that one main bolt so everything kind of stays, and that'll be it for this video. And then we'll do another video getting the head and then putting everything back together, so.
And it's not a bad idea to take a piece of paper towel in the new cylinder and just kind of wipe it on a little bit.
Just get the the machining stuff out. If you're pretty good with your maintenance, if you change the oil right away, we'll probably change it within the first couple hours of riding it.
Yeah, usually about 3 to 4 hours of break-in, guys.
Well, that's always good.
It's decently ideal.
That hose is just completely junk. Anyways, all right, we're gonna get the camera flipped on me, and then we'll get the cylinder ready, and we'll stagger the rings, like I said, make sure the openings are. I try to do 90 at least, or 180 apart on every ring. Then you don't have to worry about blow by past your rings, and they won't really move around once we'll try to get you a decent view of what's going on here. We put our rings pretty much staggered. We got to slide the cylinder in between here over the studs. Sometimes the studs don't exactly line up.
Did we put dowels in the cylinder?
We gotta make sure the dowels are in the down here.
Oh yeah.
You wanna go double check the old cylinder for me?
Yeah.
Make sure the dowels are out of the bottom. Just check the bottom. I don't think there are any in there.
There's dowels in the top.
Yeah, we'll get them out later. No. Okay, so they're in the cylinder. Or I mean, they're in the engine. So we got the 2 dowels down here on the left side. That's how it came out. We checked the other cylinder. There was no signs of anything else. We still got that O-ring on down here, which is good.
Alrighty.
The big thing is we have to try to get these rings in here. Put the cylinder on and the cam chain guide. It's a little bit of a tricky job. I don't know if you can do it by yourself. You may need somebody else unless you have some sort of idea to do it better. But what I did is kind of slid the cylinder down while I had somebody fish the cam gear down and hook the bolt on, while making sure that little O-ring circular rubber piece sits in the bottom by the engine and your base gasket's all lined up. And you can put this in afterward. So you got the 10mm bolt here with a Phillips head on it. You can just get these pretty tight. I just take a wrench usually, and that's about it. Make sure, obviously, like I said, piston intake is up, and the timing chain we had marked before, so we put that in there, let it hang out the bottom. You can rotate it over while holding the chain a few times just to make sure. We did that a few times. It turned over pretty good. The skirt's gonna fit snug in the case, so that might be a little hard to go in. Not a lot of information on these YX 140 motors. We'll try to do the best we can, give you the most accurate information that we can. So make sure you guys leave a like on the video, subscribe, comment down below, and we'll see you in the next part.